recording. 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, Nolar here, back with another, I guess, discussion piece. But this time I'm joined by Hydros. Hydros, why don't you say hello to the beautiful people out there?
What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing?
Now, Hydros has been making the tour about talking about safety net and Trident and all that, and so with that said, let us know more about it. No, this is not what the video is about. But if you guys don't know what's going on, we have, and you're just watching me level links. It's just what it is going on in the back. But what's going on is that with the latest update 4.12. They have put safety net in, which is strictly for Android, as far as I understand it, and it's a way to verify that the APK, which is the Dokkan app you're using, is actually the one coming from the servers. If not, it gets reported, all that stuff. Look, go to Toonrami, go to Garesh's. I don't know who else has you been on the talk show tour, but
I haven't been on Garesh's yet. I'm expecting it.
Yeah. But look, he's talked about that. But the point with that is just that Trident, Dokkan, all the mods, all the stuff you're accustomed to hearing about potentially just won't exist anymore, because safety net is a pretty hard thing to crack, or it's just not worth the effort at this point. So
it's not necessarily that it's crackable. It's just it's implemented in a way to where there's not really ways you can get around anything.
Right.
There's so much verification, encryption. It's not worth trying to hack it. It's not worth trying to break it, because ultimately you can't, because it's being sent to Google servers that are verifying this, that, or the other, being sent to the Dokkan servers, sending it back to the game, making sure that everything is where it's supposed to be coming from. And if you modified it in any way, well, bye. You're going to get yeeted out of existence by Dokkan.
Yeah, and even though there are people who have released modded APKs and stuff, that's the dangerous situation you're in, because your ID gets tagged, right? Like, it knows that you used an APK, modded APK, and so at any point, they haven't flipped the switch yet, right?
No, they could literally just flip a switch. They could catch everything. It lets them know stuff about your device, so they could lead to eventual device bans as well. So people, like, if you have kids out there that don't have the ability to, emulators too. Yeah, emulators. I don't think they would care necessarily too much about emulators. That's an area that, most people don't have high-tech phones, and so they just use an emulator. So it really becomes an issue if they do start cracking down on emulators at that point. But I'd kind of doubt it. But again, it is a possibility, so there's that. Like a device ban, when it's sent to everything, they send stuff about the APK, where the APK is, if anything was modified in the APK, stuff like that. So literally gives them information about everything from what you're doing, and it's really hard and basically impossible to get around. There are a few things that could possibly be worked around, but they could either fix it literally in an instant or flip a switch. And stuff for like Trident and Dokkan specifically, we're not gonna take the risk of risking other people's accounts, right, to do that. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, anyways, I initially didn't want this to be about the safety net or whatever, but
it's okay. Just get a little bit insight. That's not as much as I went into it before, but
yeah. So anyways, things have basically, too long didn't read or didn't watch. It's the landscape of the game has changed, right? So beforehand, you had all these mods and stuff like that. People were cheating, not a big deal. But now that's no longer the case. Now the question begs is this for a reason? Now, a lot of people are speculating that potentially we're going to get a PvP mode, which would make sense, right? You want all the APKs, no one to be cheating. So you want people to be, playing fairly in an environment that, requires PvP, where people spend money and stuff. So is, just in your general opinion, is this potentially where we're heading to, Hydros?
I mean, that's definitely a thought. I mean, it could be PvP. They could implement that later. They could be implementing something like co-op. They want it to be fair all around. People, co-op, don't want like your friends and stuff doing like 30 million damage when you're supposed to be doing 2 million. Stuff like that. They probably don't want all that stuff kind of happening. And the most likely scenario, at least for right now, this was most likely to just combat the bots. Like all the SRs on the friends list for lower levels and stuff like that, because the bot was so heavily used, especially for selling freshly farmed accounts, which I necessarily don't agree with either. So I'm kind of glad to kind of see that go at the same time. Which I understand because, like, why would you want to pay for a freshly farmed account when you can literally just download the tool and do it yourself? I never got that kind of aspect. I don't know why people paid for it anyway. But yeah, it could be mainly just for the bot. I know some people are probably like thinking, it may be because of Trident or maybe because of Dokkan. It could be a mixture of all of the things why they finally decided to do this. But I have the general suspicion, and even like a lot of us do, that it's most likely because of the bot and what the bot did, like especially to the friends list, is why this is coming. Now they could be implementing it, I don't know. There's no way to know for sure, but my opinion, it was most likely for that. Firstly, maybe then Dokkan, Dokkan and Trident secondly, and maybe then finally PvP and co-op or something like that would be coming. I don't know.
All right, so I'm going to focus more on the last potential thing, because what that does for, at least to me, is say they've got other game modes in mind, which is always welcomed, right? So, if you're thinking co-op or raids or world boss or PvP, now that everyone is essentially playing the official APK, what could you expect? Like, what do you envision would be a co-op mode, a PvP mode, etc.?
Well, I literally just thought about this while we're talking about it. We just got partner supers or unit supers, whatever. Partner super sounds better. I'm just gonna say that. In the regular game, you can have a unit link up with the basically you summon a summonable unit or a free-to-play unit that has a partner super, and you do the attack, right? Now, in my opinion, like a co-op type thing, if you're especially like doing raid bosses, right? If like maybe you and your opponent are choosing, or you and your partner rather are choosing like a certain number of units to play with, that that will be sent out onto the field or whatever it would entail. That if you and your partner or your co-op partner have units that are actually unit super partners, that boom, you can chat. It would summon the unit super attack. So, that could be a cool thing. That kind of clicked in my head a little bit. It's like maybe co-op like that could kind of work a little bit.
Well, it would be fun because you would have to actually communicate with your partner and be like, hey, look, I'm going to take the Hercule, bring the Super Saiyan 3 free-to-play Easy A Goku, and then we'll get the partner super off. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah, that would be a fun little aspect to it. That'd be kind of cool to see, honestly, in terms of like a co-op raid or something like that.
Well, that would also mean they would need to implement a way for you to communicate with people, right?
Right.
So,
text chats aren't necessarily the greatest in a lot of mobile games, so it'd be kind of bad.
Yeah,
especially
it'd be a little
with
awkward.
Dokkan. I don't imagine it being great, especially because of the friends list. I definitely don't expect it to be great.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay, so that's co-op. I mean, for me personally, I think co-op would be, like the world boss was interesting, where you just, X amount of times you went through it. So you did it 3 times. That's like 3 HP off of the world boss. That sucks, at least in my opinion. I like it the way that Legends does it, or Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, where it is like there's 70 trillion HP, and then as much damage as you do, you take away from that 70 trillion, and you can go in as many, like you have an energy bar. At least that's what it's like in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. You can only do it like 5 times, and then you get 1 energy every hour. So you have to maximize your damage output that way. Legends with their co-op is just like, hey, well, do it as many times as you want, but this is like a ton of health. So if you want in, you need to do it. Get in on the raid early and often. At least that's how they do it. So I think that would be interesting. And of course, because you no longer have access to modded APKs, you're not doing like 30 million damage when you're supposed to be doing, like you said, like 2 million or 3 million or whatever.
Yeah.
So
in terms of Legends, how the raid boss works, right? You have your main unit,
yep,
and you set up your support units. That sounds a lot like Chain Battle, if I have to look at it that way.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That Chain Battle could be that kind of world boss. Maybe they could. Maybe it's still in its early stages. Hasn't been through that many rounds yet. So, maybe this is kind of like the beginning testing ground for something like that. Like how Battlefield 1.0 had it, which honestly I found a lot better than what we have now. I wish they bring it back, but it is what it is. But Chain Battle could be a sort of a testing ground, which I thought, which is kind of cool. It's just really boring.
Yeah. Right now, they've. I will give them credit. They're at least experimenting with different modes. Granted, I don't like the mode. I don't really like chain battle too much, especially this last one on JP was just horrendous.
I top 22% right here.
I managed to get the 1%, but I got super lucky. Like, it was just a random run. I got 112 million. But any other run I did before that was like, hey, it's like 80 million, 89 million. It's like, thanks, game. I have no clue why you're doing what you're doing. But okay, so that's kind of the PvE side. Now, how do you envision PvP potentially happening?
It would have to be something completely new. Maybe something similar to chain battle, maybe. But in terms of PvP, what are you gonna do? Set up two sides with bubble poppers and just give y'all health like you normally do? Each, like, you would have to scale down all of the individual units that you're using. Like, say you bring 3 units, like obviously like legends instead. So instead of 6, you bring 3 units that work together, and something like that. Or maybe you bring 6, so then you have 3, defeat the 3, bring out the next 3, something like that, you know. But you would have to probably scale all the health to have like individual health bars, like, you know, like they do in normal events with multiple enemies in that regard. But, you know, would they just make it a bubble popper? I mean, it might as well just be a normal Dokkan event, if that, because it's just like, you know, it's nothing new. So I would imagine that they would bring something new to the table instead of just the same mechanic again and again, like they did with chain battle, but maybe more developed.
Yeah, so in my mind, it's a little interesting because, okay, anytime they do anything related to PvP or anything, it's always like point-based or position or rank-based, right? So like World Tournament, right? It's always been, can you make top 1,000 or whatever, and then same thing within your local, like that's chain battle's the same thing. Can you get the top, you know, 1%? You'll get all these rewards. So they seem to like the concept of like ranking systems, and for me, I just had the thought that, like, you know, that event we have right now with the Frieza, not the Frieza, well, it's the Goku, right? The one that has different, you know, AGL tech or whatever, and it's got like 150 million HP. Hey, try to kill it in 2
Goku
turns.
punching bag.
Basically the Goku punching bag, but I was thinking it could be the same concept, right? Like, I put up a team together and it has a total of 170 million HP, and then see how much damage you could do to it, and you get ranked on that, and that's your PvP in a way. I don't think they will ever make it so that you directly, it's like peer-to-peer, like, hey, you're live right now, I'm live right now, we're gonna bubble pop against each other. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. Like, that's just not an interface or a mechanic that works. But if it's something
Dokkan, I don't think they'll ever bring a peer-to-peer type PvP.
Right.
I don't think that'll ever. It's not even right now. I mean, World Tournament and chain battle, like the ranking system. That's, I guess I mean, you can see it as PvP, but to me, that's not even PvP. That's like PvE.
Just leaderboard. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I think every PvP concept for Dokkan is just going to be a leaderboard-based ranking system. But the mechanics of how they do it, it's just going to be whatever they come up with, right? And then my thought is, like, the punching bag, like, I'll put up a team together, you know, kind of like what chain battle is and what and Legends is like, I have one main character, and then I have all these supporting characters that boost his HP, damage, or whatever, defense, and then someone comes in and tries to fight my guy that I put there, and if you can't beat him, or I outlast you, or whatever the case may be, it bumps me in the ranking or something like that. One game
Speaking of that, I mean,
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, a ranking to where, you know, you're starting off, but you're facing like the next person above you in the leaderboard, and you keep doing that over and over and over and over again until you're at number 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Then, you know, if you get knocked down, you have to go back up. You have to fight again. You know, because something like that would be kind of cool. That'd be more PvP than what we have now, in a way.
Right. Yeah, that would be an interesting concept where that would be like. Basically like a Legends, like, ranked PvP season, right? You're just fighting the next top person, right. Blah blah blah. It could be interesting to see how they implement it, but that would be different at the very least, right? I was gonna mention, there's a game I checked out. It's the Idola Phantasy Star Gacha one. What's interesting about that one is, like, their PvP, one of their PvPs is literally in the mechanic, you have like a Idola, or like think of like a giant ape, right? Think of a great ape, but you put, it's got 3 body parts, and you put characters in each body part. So like, oh, the head has like these 3 characters. You gotta, like, it's like basically a PvE boss. So like you put your thing in and it's like a boss, and then they have to go in and the people in your ranking or your group has to down you as fast as possible. So like I put one out, and my count was pretty stacked, so it took 20 people to take me down. But that bumped me up because it took 20 people to take me down. So it's the same concept I'm like extrapolating from Idola Phantasy Star into this. Is like, okay, I'll put my Go Bros and I'll put all the hybrid Saiyans I want right there, and it'll like boost the HP and damage reduction, all that stuff. And then when whoever gets to fight me, okay, see if they can take me down one turn or one go. If not, then the next person after that, because I get bumped up because I successfully defended and yada yada yada. The only downside is when we're talking PvP and any gacha game that has any form semblance of PvP, the problem is and will forever be power creep. Power creep just gets blown the hell up. So I don't know how. I mean, just out of curiosity, how do you feel like if we decided to get PvP? Do you think the power creep would be even worse than what we have right now?
Yeah, I feel like it would be a Legends VB situation for Dokkan in a way.
Yeah.
They would power creep it too much one time, and that would be how it would be for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would just suck going forward. That's the only bad part about PvP, especially when when they, obviously, whales, they want whales to have an advantage. They want to spend more, they want to do all this and that.
Right.
So whenever a PvP is coming into play, they're probably gonna make whales being able to do a lot better because obviously they're spending a lot more. And yeah, power creep would just probably be insane after a while. It'd probably get to the point to where we're seeing 250% leaders probably.
Yeah.
And who God knows what kind of categories we would see after that.
Well, the one rectifying proposition is that instead of using their existing leader skills and their kits as they have it, that could be specifically PvE, and then the PvP would be a completely different, setup, right? But
I mean, like a simpler kind of kit,
right? So it's like
PvP counterpart.
Yeah, because you remember Battlefield 1.0, right? It's like every card had a specific usage. Like, it didn't matter about their stats. It's just what card they were. If they were physical, they did X. If they were intelligence, they did Y. If they were tech, they did Z. You know what I mean? So, like, they could do that where it's like, it doesn't matter about the dupes. It doesn't matter about that. It's just what the card is. I'm just speaking hypothetically here, right? So, but the problem is, that would alleviate the whole power creep, because then you just have a whole new kit. But that means the devs have to make a second whole new kit in general, right? So it's like doing double the work. And is that...
They would have to go back and do it for every card in the game.
And that's what I'm getting at.
There's over 1,000 separated cards, and like literally, I think over... Yeah, I think it's like a 1,500-ish. If you're talking about like just TURs and stuff, I think... Oh, no, Ghost did it. I think if you use their Awakened version, it's like 1,500 almost or something like that. It's insane how many cards there are actually in the game. So they would have to literally do all the work to do it to every single card, and I don't think Dokkan is willing to do that.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's the other point I brought up, is like, if they want to alleviate the concept of power creep on a PvP side, they just have to completely change the mechanics, but then they literally have to change all the cards to accommodate that mechanic, right? So I don't know if that's even remotely feasible at all. But that's one way they could get around it, because like I said, what goes with power creep is burnout. Because, like, yeah, if I'm a whale, I'm going to spend all to make sure I get to the top. But there comes a point where I'm just tired, because there's always constant power creep. Oh, there's the new banner, the new card, and then I got to get this, and then I didn't get that one. But, if I don't get on top for this next 2 weeks, then I won't have those currencies and all those rewards. So, like, the downside to power creep is just complete burnout. Like, even if I'm a hardcore fan, I know if there was like consistent new banners with new cards, with new PvP mechanics, then I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm tired, you know? And you don't want that happening to your player base. But that's what eventually happens to a lot of like hardcore players, is that PvP burns them out. So I don't know, man.
I'm thinking of like Grand Cross, right? Like, just it doesn't really matter which version. It's specifically just because like Grand Cross has the final bosses, and when you do final bosses, they have the ranking and get the ranking rewards. You know, similar to like World Tournament. It's just you facing off against a boss. Then you have the rankings for like everybody, and you get into like top 20%, kind of like chain battle-ish kind of thing. And you know, you can do that, and maybe that, I mean, that kind of thing would still work. That would be something what chain battle already is, and you know, kind of getting on into that, but because of like the final bosses, they release units that are also very well to go against it. Like I think Diane, and it was the well, I can't remember his name. I literally can't remember his name because I don't care. It was just like one, like for Final Boss Diane, you had to summon, like they released a banner for this character who actually did very well against Final Boss Diane. Can't remember his name, but yeah, he was like after Final Boss, I wouldn't remember him anymore. But there's just there's that, you know, like XS units that would just be bad, but good. I mean, there's already things like that. Units good in this, bad in this. Just don't care about this unit after this goes away. You know, I mean, Dokkan at the end of the day is also just a collection game too, as well. So I mean, that, you know, it wouldn't really matter, I guess, in that regard if you just summon for the character. But in terms of PvP, it's like, oh, he's good for this, and then boom, I don't have to use him anymore.
Well, here's the thing, like PvP. Like with collection games, they need to give you a reason to use your whole collection, right? So like, for example, chain battle, that's again a little more geared towards the pay-to-play whales, is because it's like, oh, you have the LR. Well, if you have the TUR and the SSR, it's gonna help you for chain battle, right? But there's another game I used to play, which is Marvel Puzzle Quest. The PvP portion was 3v3 puzzles, right? But the thing was, there were boosted characters every week from different rarities, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. So depending on your box, you could literally just use the boosted 3 and 4-star characters and beat the hell out of whaled 5-star units because of, you know, their kits and whatnot. So you know, the point I'm trying to make there is they need to give a reason to expand and keep a collection of everything. Yeah, everything's gonna get an easy A, things get better, blah, blah, blah. But if you had a mode where, hey, I get to use these SR cards, so like, gonna help me way more than the LRs, cool, I'm gonna keep every SR card I could have. And that's more incentive for them to keep the card, expand the box with stones, buy more stones to expand the box, etc., etc. So to really capitalize on the collection aspect, because I'm a collector, I love collecting everything. But if I don't get to use it all, it kind of sucks. Give me a mode that lets me use everything, and I will definitely make sure I have every card. So, yeah, the one thing I want to touch on before we go, close out here, and I know this has gone a little longer than I intended, but the one thing I thought would be interesting would be guilds. Now, again, guilds kind of, with other games that have guilds, it gets a little pressured because you got to keep maintain your activity and all that stuff, and certain people have stuff come up in their lives, so they're no longer as active, or some people want to be more active. So the thing about guilds is it just gets very fluid, and it's never static at all. You just always move up or move down, whatever the case. But the PvP portion, if you're going to do that, then I would imagine guilds being, or alliances, or however you want to call it, being an interesting proposition for Dokkan. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
In terms of guilds, it'd be cool, especially doing guild versus kind of a guild. Not necessarily like your whole guild facing the other one, like in a peer-to-peer type setting, but
yeah,
like,
it's more like who can finish to the final like boss. Yeah, or something like that.
That, or like maybe you get like a certain number of tries to face an opposing guild member that you want to fight. Like you could pick one, or maybe they just auto, like it detects like something closer to what you are in terms of like your team and stuff like that, and you face off against that certain guild member's team, or like maybe a chunk of their team, and you get there, and if you defeat their team, you defeat that guild member, move on to the next one until you lose, or until you stop, or you get so many tries, or however they want to do it.
Right.
Something like that would be kind of cool. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be peer-to-peer, because that kind of connection would suck probably.
Yep.
Especially with how bad it is right now.
Yeah, which by the way, guys,
yeah, something like that.
Just to interject, like with the inclusion of safety net, it's a lot slower. The JP app, it's a lot slower.
Cards are also weird now. Like a lot of cards are messed up. Like it's not just specific ones; it's like random ones of them that just get messed up.
Yeah, and the reason why is it's got to go back to Google servers and back to Akatsuki servers, and it's got to bounce back a bunch of times, right? Is that how it works?
They basically increased the ping time in a way. They increased the ping, increased the latency to which it goes from the game to the server. Now it has to go from game server game, and or in some cases games Google server, Dokkan server, Google server game, and it's just like that route. Even if safety net like made your game so secure, I don't think that route, especially for Dokkan, as what kind of game it is not really worth it.
Right. So, anyways, to close it out, yeah. So because kind of segues in, which is, all right, safety net's implemented. It's changed the landscape of the game. There's no more official or no any more modded APKs out there. Does that mean we're getting some other game modes? Did that cut out the bots, which I think you and I both agree that's kind of the main motivation of doing it. But anyways, just want to say, look, that was fun. Maybe we'll get some new stuff. Hopefully we do, because game's a little dry right now. But thanks a lot, Hydros. Anything you want to say before we sign off here?
Just one. I try to include this, at least everyone. There are modded APKs out there. There are still ones that are out there. They are probably 99% sure that most of them are unaware that safety net is a thing. Don't download modded APKs. I recommend you stay away from them. Just my opinion. You don't have to listen to me. If you want to risk your account, go for it. But at the end of the day, I think if you try these mods, they are probably there's no way to really properly protect from safety net. So, if you want to risk your account, that's on you, but I recommend staying away from, if not all mods right now, at least on JP, because of safety net.
Right. So thanks for the warning. Hopefully all you guys heed that, because I hate for you guys to lose, something you invested either money and or time. But anyways, yeah, this was fun, Hydros. Thanks a lot for coming along. Let me know what you guys think. Like, what do you think this safety net implementation means for the game? Does it mean PvP? Does it mean guilds? Does it mean like some raid boss or some world boss modes or some stuff like that? So let me know in your comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like button. If you're new here and like the content, hit that subscribe button. Greatly appreciate it. And on behalf of myself and Hydros, we're out.